Welcome to the Mission First People Always podcast. We're glad you're here. And now our host, Dr. Mike Patterson.
Hey everyone, it's Dr. Mike. Welcome to another episode of the Mission First People Always podcast, where we talk about all things related to leadership, teamwork, communication, professional growth. I'm glad you're here. In this episode, we are exploring joy and how to create workplace cultures that are filled with it. In an age where stress and anxiety seem to be a more prominent part of our life than ever before, we would all benefit by learning what it means to be more joyful as we find meaning, purpose, and more opportunities to laugh at work and at home and throughout life. So today, we're going to unlock more joy with some practical strategies and fresh perspectives. And the guy that's going to help us do that is Viso. His real name is Ricardo Viso, but he said that his friends call him Viso, so I'm going to call him Viso. You can call him Viso. He's a global entrepreneur, speaker, podcaster. He's a former executive who's turned life's toughest moments into powerful lessons on joy and resilience. And he's got the scars and stories to prove it. He was born in Denver, raised in Mexico City, and now calls Austin, Texas home. He's been through it all. He lost his mother to suicide at age 10. He's overcome a stint of incarceration. He's battled cancer. But despite it all, but despite every effort to break him, he used these experiences to build something incredible. And now he's on a mission to help others break free from autopilot, shift their mindset, and create real joy in their lives and daily activities without waiting for some life-altering wake-up call. So he's the founder of Joyful Living Lounge, and we're going to talk about what that is and how you can be part of it. He's going to help us learn about joy and offer us a place to come unwind, laugh, and soak up some good vibes. So without further ado, my friend Viso, welcome to the Mission First People Always podcast. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, Mike. Thank you very much. That was a great introduction. Thank you very much. And I'm happy to be here with you.
Well, I'm looking forward to this conversation because we can all use more joy in our life. I've read your bio, and on the surface, it would seem like you're the last person in the world who ought to be coming here and talking about joy. You've had in some ways, a really tough life, but you've overcome a lot is probably the big idea of this story. Tell us a little bit about your journey and some of the things that you had to deal with.
Actually, it's fun that you start like that because one of the speeches I give to college kids and high school and different places, one of the initial, let's call it that they see, it's a slide where I put everything that's happened to me. So I put jail, divorce, cancer, suicide, and all the things that happened to me. And people go like, wow. And I ask, where do you think a guy or a person that all of this has happened to, how would he or she be now in its life? And everybody's like, well, it's gone. I mean, something bad is going on with it. And that's me when I tell them and they see, and it's been like that. I've always had, since I was 10, my first real moment in life that changed everything. My mom died. She committed suicide. And me and my brother learned about it. My dad never told us at the beginning that she committed suicide. And now that you're old enough, and I mean, we were 10, my youngest brother was 7, how can you tell a kid that their mom committed suicide? So he told us that she had an accident and she died. But my cousin, my oldest cousin, he was like 3-4 years older than me, came with a newspaper ad, or not an ad, a report or an essay, saying and explaining that my mom committed suicide in a hotel.
Mm.
And that's how I learned. And I was 10. And I always tell people that when you think that at that age you don't understand, you do understand perfectly. You might not understand many of the things surrounding that but you perfectly understand what suicide is and that you're never going to see your mom again.
Mm.
So that's when it started. And what I did, and again, I didn't understand at that moment how I was dealing with it, but I told everybody that my mom had died. I met people and how are you? Well, I'm doing terrible because my mom died. And I told them, and my dad sent me to a camp, summer camp, and I told everybody, and I cried every day. And so I dealt with that situation like in a very healthy way. Why? I have no idea because I was 10. And then all the things that you said, I've been through a lot of things, and I've always say that, and it happened that way when I was before the rest of the bad things happened or the uncomfortable situation happened. I said the worst and the best that's happened to me is my mom dying. Why? And they say, how can you say that? Yeah, because it's the worst moment, but it made me a resilient and a joyful person because I said, there's nothing worse that can happen to me from now on.
Mm.
So when I was in high school, college, and for you to see me worried or anxious about something, and since then, it's very difficult. It's very difficult for you to see me looking into the bad side of stuff or because life, in my mind, happens and terrible things are going to happen. And yeah, sure. And you think about them and you feel sad or mad or whatever. And then you start moving towards another mindset. And that's how it goes.
So you've been to the bottom. There's nowhere to go but up, and we're going to talk about uh, how we continue to look up and choose joy without going through all that bad stuff in a moment. But I'm curious, you use the word joy very intentionally, and oftentimes people use the word happy or happiness sort of synonymously, but you seem to be very intentional about your word choices here. Why do you talk about joy and not being happy? What's the difference?
Look, I think it's very clear that most of the people think about happiness, and happiness is a state of mind. And normally people say, I'm going to be happy when something happens, a promotion, when I get married, when I have kids, when I make more money. And what happens most of the times is that you arrive to that moment, you feel happy for I don't know how many seconds or minutes, and it's gone. And if the process to get to what you wanted to be happy, you didn't enjoy it, it's a waste of time.
Mm.
So, joy is something that you can actually and perfectly define. What brings you joy? Having a cup of coffee, reading a book, laughing with a friend. It's very easy to define what brings you joy. And we can go further and deeper into it. And there are many things about joy because joy for the sake of joy, it's not that important or not that significant. But when you define and you know what brings you joy, it's easier to have joy on your daily routine or your daily habits or whatever. And if I tell you happiness, what's happiness? What brings you happiness? Or how do you define happiness? It's much more complicated. And again, it's something that most of the people want to arrive to. And joy, again, you can define what brings you joy right now. Me having this conversation with you brings me joy. And then after we hang up, I might take a croissant. That brings me joy, or a cup of ice cream or whatever. It's easier to define. And that's the difference in my mind between focusing on happiness or joy or enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a enjoying,
Exactly.
ENJOYING, is a really important part of this. And I think that's probably what you're leading toward. How do we enjoy the moments of our day every day versus trudging through and trying to get through the day? And I experience this in conversation with my clients. I'm out with clients every week, and there seems to be, and tell me if I'm misperceiving this, but there seems to be more stress and anxiety than ever before. I'm granted, I'm an old guy, but I look back over my career, my 40-year career, and it seems like now people are more stressed out than ever. I hear about this phenomenon called the Sunday scaries, which is this idea that, the sense of dread that people feel on Sunday evening as they think about the week ahead. Am I crazy? Is this a perception of mine, or are people actually more stressed out and anxious now than they were in the past?
You and me are both crazy because I see exactly the same. And I arrived to that conclusion or observation, however you want to call it, when I was diagnosed with cancer 4 years ago. It was a very, very bad cancer. And I went through all the treatments, radiation, chemotherapy. They removed my stomach. I don't have a stomach. So it was a large period of focusing only on getting healthier and taking care of the tumor and everything that went with it. And I was able to realize and to see that people around me and people that I knew and people, they were successful in terms of what we define most of the times as successful. They have money, but they didn't enjoy at all their life. And the way I see it is, what's the purpose on doing that when you're really not enjoying, or enjoying, I don't know, 1/10 of that, or whatever amount of time? You cannot go through life like that. And when I had the cancer, when they gave me the diagnosis, I started giving speeches to moms with kids with cancer. For many reasons, perspective and to help, or however I want, however I could. And you realize that kids and these moms, they find a way to enjoy whatever is going on with their lives. And these other people that you consider they're healthy, they're not. So it didn't make much sense. And that's when the journey to help people to enjoy at least a little bit more. And with cancer patients, it's very easy to define whether you're enjoying and how to enjoy. What I mean is, when you're confronted with the probability of death, you have two options. Either you enjoy the rest of the time you're going to live. It doesn't matter if it's 1 month, 6 months, 10 years, whatever. Or you go down and you victimize yourself and you start seeing all the bad things about life and all of that. And it's a choice. And that choice should be made by everyone, not waiting for something terrible to happen. And that's exactly when I decided to help people. And I completely agree with you, and I see it all the time. People not only are more stressed, but again, they don't enjoy their everyday life. And that's not the way you're supposed to live.
Yeah, I like the idea that, well, I'm concerned that so many people wait until they experience this, get a devastating diagnosis, they experience some extreme hardship before it's a wake-up call, and they change their perspective. But I'm concerned that so many people don't recognize that, and they continue getting stressed out about the presentation tomorrow with the boss. And if it doesn't go perfectly, the world's going to end, and the sky's going to fall, and all these terrible things are going to happen. In truth, that's a pretty minor thing compared to some of the hardships other people recognize. So how do we, how do you communicate with people that you don't need to wait until you get this horrible diagnosis or until something really bad happens? How do you get people to recognize that they can make this choice today and start changing their life tomorrow?
It's hard. Honestly, Mike, it's hard. I developed during this period of time that I decided to focus only on helping people and doing all of this, a methodology called RIC, RIC, which is recognize, identify, and consciousness. And the first part is exactly recognizing. If you don't even recognize that you are not enjoying your life, there's no way you're going to change. And it's a mindset. When you want to focus on your nutrition, you consciously every day see what you're going to eat. If you want to get fit, you consciously do exercise every day. If you want to enjoy life or your days or your job or your whatever you want to call it, you need to consciously focus on trying to enjoy. And again, it's something, how do you explain to people? How do you show them? It's very hard. And that's what I'm trying to do, actually. It's like showcasing that if you go through life just wanting to make more money, get more accolades, and do more stuff, but during that period of time, just wanting to arrive to a certain amount of money or a certain amount of or a certain position in life, or you might never get there. And if you get there, what's next?
Right.
When you really believe, and that's something that I've been doing, and that's part of the things we do in the workshops and everything, but it's when you say and you actually confront death the way I've been, I've did it or I've done it, or it's you again, you say there's two options. Again, I victimize and I go down a terrible way of thinking, or I try to enjoy whatever's left of my life, no matter the amount of time that is. And
I
you
think
focus on that.
I think what you're saying about this focus on stuff and money and materialism is a very real thing in North America for upper middle class executive level folks who are, listening to this podcast right now. But I think what you're talking about is real, and I've seen it firsthand. I used to be on, and this is maybe a small example, but it made the point very real to me. I used to be on the board for a children's home in Mexico, just south of Tecate, and
Okay.
it's a place where orphans with absolutely nothing, no material goods, they found, food, shelter, and safety, small children who were, literally had nothing. I used to go visit these kids, and they always had big smiles on their faces. They ran and played with each other. They were deeply grateful for each meal they had. They were loving. They were kind. They were And this, was from the little ones to, the kids that were much older. They just did it, and they just seemed to get it, and they didn't have any stuff. Does stuff get in the way of joy?
And again, it's not about saying you don't need money. You don't know, you do. I mean, you need to have your life the way you like and the way you want to have your life. That's something that, I mean, because it's not about, no, I want to go and live down a tree and I don't need anything. No, that's not the point. But focusing only on that, it's a never ending story. And that's exactly, your example is perfect, because how can they be happy if they have nothing? Well, because they don't focus on what they have, they focus on the moment they are living, and they enjoy that moment, whether it's singing, uh, going under the rain, whatever. They don't focus on, oh, I'm poor, I don't have anything. I need to focus on, I need to see what I'm going to do tomorrow. They don't do that. And suddenly when you become an adult, you start thinking about all of that. Oh, my retirement. Oh, my boss. Oh my God, no, this is terrible. The car, the mortgage. Those are real problems. And I don't mind to say, no, they don't know. You don't care about those, and they don't mind. No, they do mind, and you have to take care of those. But there's two ways of approaching that. And that's what I try, and what we should be able to do. Enjoy, again, a little bit more how you approach that part of making more money, of dealing with your boss, with your kids, whatever. Life is going to throw you so many things to be upset about all the time. It's a nonstop thing. So you need to find a way to say, okay, this is terrible, but I can do this. Yeah, this is not good, but, and you train your mind that way. That's the way. And again, you need to focus and train and do the work. You cannot just one day say, oh, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to enjoy life, and that's it. No, it doesn't work that way.
You started describing the RIC method, RIC, and you got through the R, and then I jumped in. What's the I and the C in your methodology?
It's identify, like to identify what brings you joy. What do you like doing in your professional, your personal relationships, everything? And then the C is consciousness. You need to consciously do something in those categories to shift your mindset towards it. And it works again with everything in life, but we tend not to focus on that part. We tend to focus again, what I need to do to be disciplined, to make money, to be fit, to get better nutrition, to work better. Yeah, those are important, very important. But the way you approach all of those is much more important. It's the same when if I use the example, nutrition. Of course, you need to you need to fill your body with the important things that you need to eat, whatever. But if you're all stressed out all the time on what you're consuming and the amount of calories and the portions, and you know what? Physically speaking, it's worse for your body to get all those toxins in your mind and all those toxins that are released when you're stressed than eating a pizza or 2 slices of pizza that day. It really is. And scientifically speaking, that's the way it goes. But people don't realize that. So you need to focus, okay, I'm gonna eat well, but I'm gonna enjoy eating well. Whatever that means to everybody. There's not a rule now, you need to do this. No, when you start stressing about, now that people measure everything, it's impressive because they measure it to be stressed about it. They measure their sleep, they measure what they eat, they measure their heartbeat, their everything. And they don't use it they use it to be stressed out. Oh, I'm not sleeping. Oh, what should I do? I'm sleeping 4 hours instead of 10, and I'm not getting the REM, the RAM. What's the purpose of measuring all of that if it's not bringing you the benefits that they should because you're stressed out about it?
Well, speaking of stress, and that seems to be an underlying theme in our conversation. We're stressed out. How do we? Do you have any advice for folks on how to manage that stress in a way that actually leads us to joy? Is it that identifying the things that stress us out and what do we do about it? Tell us about stress management.
Again, it's yeah, and it's sometimes it's very small things that we do that help us with stress. We believe that you need to do so many different things, but there's tons of information and out there. Just breathing for a moment, getting out of the situation, breathing brings you a different perspective. Putting a song, reading something, distracting your mind for a few moments, not to focus on the stressful situation helps a lot. Mel Robbins talked about the 5 second rule. The 5 second rule is so simple and it's like, well, come on. The 5 second rule is amazing because what you say is, okay, I'm getting mad. I'm being stressed. Count to 5 and your mind does change. And there's all sorts of different ways of doing that. Kabbalah talks about it the different way than the 5 second rule, but it's stop. What a pleasure. What that creates is that once your brain is going down a bad spiral in terms of anger or sadness or stress, you give your mind a break for a moment to say, wait. And then once you start doing that and think, okay, this is very stressful, but I can see it this other way, your mind starts working that way every single time. Like I can give you a perfect example with cancer. When you go and they give you the news about cancer, there's no way you can not feel scared, stressed, fearful, whatever, any feeling you tell me about, you're going to get it. And there's two ways to go about it. There's no way you're going to take out the stress of thinking that you might die, all the bad things. But what I did, the first time I was diagnosed, is I started reading about all the cases that were successful. I started listening to stand-up comedians. I started reading. I didn't want to hear or listen or read about any statistic that said, well, 4 out of 10 live. I focus it on the good side of it because there are. Like, and another example, when COVID was here, what did the news and everybody did? Every single day, they give you the news of the amount of dead people.
Mhm.
Come on. Why don't you tell me, you know what, today, 10,000 people got better and they say they are safe. No, they went against, they're dying. That what your mind goes down a bad spiral. There's no way out. So the way of dealing, and there are, again, stress is going to be a part of your life no matter what. In your job, your kids, your wife, your husband, your friends, whatever. Stress is out there. And you need to take it in, realize that you're stressed, and then shift for a moment and help your mind to think and to process information or feelings aside from those bad feelings, or I don't want to call them bad because they're not bad, they're part of life, but you need to train your brain to do that.
What's most of the people that are listening they're in the marketplace. They've got positions of great responsibility and authority. They're managers, they're leaders. Is there a business case for joy at work? Should managers be promoting joy among their team members? Does joy drive business results?
But there are now tons of information and studies and people that are actually focusing on that specifically. And when your team, and let's talk about a small or any size team, don't talk about the whole company, is enjoying more their job, the productivity goes up, sales go up, turnover goes down. And again, you can go, and if they can contact, I can send you tons of information on that. It is something that changes completely. And if the leader or the manager brings or helps their team to enjoy more whatever their job it is, they're going to have a more productive team. That's a fact now. It's not even you can see the amount, it's become like a trend also, but now big companies have this chief happiness officer. It's not because they decided, and it's not about having a clown going over the company, clapping and inflating balloons and it's not about that. It's about finding those things that people enjoy. Google did it. Now having those offices where you can play pool and some people go, oh, that's a waste of time. It's not. When you're stressed out and you shift your mind and you start playing a little bit pool, or you go down a slide, or you hear something, or you hear a song, it helps. It does change your pattern or the way you're thinking. It's science. Again, it's not something that I believe or it might be that way. It is that way. So you cannot argue against saying that joy or enjoying, as you will put it, whatever you're doing in your job helps your team completely. And there's no way around that. And it doesn't matter this amount of stress your job is about. You can see, and I can tell you what's the most stressful job you can tell me about, or the worst job you can think about. And you have, let's call about a neurosurgeon. It's stressful as hell. And you have one neurosurgeon that's doing surgery, stressed out, and the other one's putting music and having all the people around him laughing, and he's going to live longer and he's going to be more productive for sure.
Should we give people permission? And I'm not sure that we need permission, but should we encourage people to laugh more? It seems like adults feel like it's not appropriate to laugh and have fun at work.
I would love, we can have a whole podcast episode about that. I don't know who told us or when we were informed that becoming an adult means stop enjoying or laughing or having fun. Your life is supposed to be enjoyable and filled with fun. That doesn't mean, again, that you have to be responsible. No, it has nothing to do with it. But if you go through your day without smiling, without laughing, without enjoying, honestly, it's a terrible day to have. Who wants that?
Yeah.
And we're focused on, that's what you need. You need to sacrifice yourself. That's sacrificing your life. And it doesn't make sense.
So you're a speaker, you conduct workshops, you do coaching, but the thing that you've suggested you're kind of most excited about right now is this joyful living lounge community that you've started. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell the audience how they can get involved in that. I think it's a Facebook thing, but tell us.
Right now it's a Facebook community. It's a Facebook group called Joyful Living Lounge. And the idea behind that is finding a space where somewhere in the future we will have physical spaces. And I don't know, my vision is much more larger than the Facebook community, but at least Now you can go there in the community and read something that brings you joy. You can laugh. You when you have all your WhatsApp or text groups and all your news and everything is about the bad that's going on in the world.
Mm.
And if you really dig deeper, there's much more better things going on today in life all around than bad things. But the bad things make the news, and that's where you focus on. So Joyful Living Lounge is a space where you can, and that's why I called it lounge, because lounge brings you like, you can relax, you can, so it's a space where you can read something funny, you can watch a funny video, you can watch something that brings you joy. You can find food, you can find whatever you think again that brings you joy. That's what I want Joyful Living Lounge to be about, where you can go in for a few moments or a second or whatever and find something. Oh, this is great. I can laugh. I found that video. Oh, this is a recipe of an amazing food that I love. Anything but negativity. That's Joyful Living Lounge.
And how do people find it?
In Facebook right now, if you go and you do it, you can find it and you can join. There's no cost. There's nothing right now. It's just, I want to grow the community. And again, there are many, many things that I want to do there. But right now it's a Facebook community where anybody can join. Just go, even you can type Joyful Living Lounge and it'll take you to the group and you can join. There's no, I mean, you don't have to register, nothing. You just have to join and start
Okay. Excellent.
uploading things that you like, that you enjoy.
Sounds good. Now, for those who have listened to my show before, they know that my final question for each guest is a very practical question. I'm looking for some practical advice for the audience. What's one thing that you can share with our audience that they can begin doing right away that would help them enjoy their day more?
There's one that I keep telling people, and it might sound so dumb and so simple, but how do you wake up every day? You put an alarm, and the alarm goes bang, bang, bang. Put a song. I wake up to What a Wonderful World or any song that you pick up. Change your alarm with a song or something that makes you wake up and it makes you smile. It doesn't go like that. It's as simple as that. It sounds very dumb again, but it's not. And I can give you much more, but you wanted one. And honestly, that changes the way you begin your day, and that changes your day.
And that's easy to do. Viso, thanks for being
Very easy.
Great guest on the Mission First People Always podcast. I'll encourage my listeners to connect with Viso. All his social links are in the show notes, so connect with him whichever way you prefer, or always. Check out his Joyful Living Lounge, the Facebook community. Follow his work, become part of it, smile more, laugh more, listen to more music, and your life will be better. Less stress, more joy is what we're all seeking. And until next time, enjoy your life. Come back and listen to another episode of the Mission First People Always podcast. God bless everyone.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you want to create a stronger, more people-centric and empowered culture for your organization, visit drmikepatterson.com.